What is going on, kids? Welcome back. Today we are doing another beef skinning video. The skinning videos seem to be doing pretty well, so I'm going to keep putting them out. We got a nice Jersey Angus cross today. This will dress out pretty nice. Good looking beef, even from just the incision cuts I've made to bleed it and everything. It looks like it has decent fat content on it, so this will be a nice looking beef. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it and start as we always start. Let's take these feet off. So I'm going to go ahead and change the camera angle and we're going to get to it. All right, so I talked about this in the last video with the pigs, where the angles are. On beef, it is a little more presentable about where it is. Again, there's this big joint right here. That's your Achilles that you obviously don't want to hit, because that is where you will be attaching the hook to put it on the rail. So what you want to see is you want to feel this tendon right here. And you see as soon as you cut that, whole thing goes limp. And you will start to see the separation of the bone. As soon as you start to get a little movement, you can kind of put some weight into it and start separating it. Go ahead and pull you in a little closer in for these front legs. You can get a better look at it. Just angle that a little bit better. All right, same thing. You're going to be going right here. You can feel the actual tendon that you're going to be cutting. Make that cut. Open that up. And just pop that right off. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So we're trying some new editing stuff. You'll see that this is more than likely all in black and white, so they can't see all this fun red stuff down here. As the page grows, I know I'm going to get into some arguments with YouTube about content and what I'm posting, because again, it's considered violent, and they don't want you to know. They don't want you to see this. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I'm putting out as much helpful content as I can. So there will be some changes and some evolution as we go along. All right. We got the feet off. I'm going to go ahead, angle you in the right spot, and go to town. So again, I like to come here along the tendon. You can grab a piece like this, and you're just going to skate along the back of it. Again, you're going to make sure that you're not actually cutting the tendon, but what this does is it makes it a little easier to get around it, because you already have an opening. Washy washy. All right. Gave her a good hose down before we got started, but she decided to roll in the mud before she got here. It seems like. All right. Open up these udders. Again, you don't want the mammary fat on your beef. It's not good fat. Like, you wouldn't want to put this in your grind. It's a bit of an off taste, especially if you're doing something that's more of a dairy variety, or if it's just calved. It'll be a little milky, some milky grind, and that's not what anyone's looking for. I've started switching up, doing this and splitting the udders because it adds a little weight to the hide, so I don't have to pull as much because gravity is doing it for me. A little bit of muddy section, so we'll go ahead and toss that off real quick. Of course, you can't see because my big noggin's in the way. I like to work my way down the beef and try to get the skin down as easy as possible, as even as possible. If you start trying to work this too much, it kind of gets caught up on itself. So it helps to open up this whole side. Just makes your life a little bit easier. Again, it's always super helpful to have a bucket of water nearby. Rinse off your hands, rinse off your knives, makes everything just a lot cleaner. Angles, man. I'm screwing it up today. All right. So again, as we said, we kept this four shank with the hide on. And once again, what we're doing, we're coming in from the inside and cutting out. And what that does, well, I didn't do it that time because the knife was dirty, but makes everything, oh, what am I doing today? Come on, Butterfingers. It does make for a cleaner cut. I'll clean all this off. I promise I've done this before. Again, when you end up in situations like this where there's hair or mud or something on it, I highly suggest cutting that section off of the membrane instead of spraying it down. What happens when you spray it down is, one, it may not actually take everything off, and two, with the water, it just spreads all the bacteria around. So we don't want that. So it's just easier to take your knife and just cut it real quick. All right. That side be done. Go ahead and pop you over here, and we'll keep going. All right. Now we are getting somewhere. These back legs skin out a little bit. We'll take care of the rest of those once she's hanging. Clean up a little bit of this hair. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pause you, clean up a little bit of this blood, and we'll see you in a second. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up this esophagus and clean a little bit of that gunky stuff off first before we get into that. Yeah, we're going to start splitting this sternum, get the esophagus tied off, so once we start lifting, we don't have a big old mess. So you're going to make that incision there. You do want to be somewhat careful that you aren't cutting the esophagus and the windpipe. Windpipe's not much of a concern. What we're also going to do is take this tongue out while we're here. I'll angle you down. All right. And what you're going to do is just going to follow that jawbone
all the way down. Cut it off at the front because that's where it is attached. And this whole tongue comes right out. Good old Colombian necktie. All right. Let's give her a rinse, toss her aside. If you're not saving tongues, and that's whether you're processing yourself or having a processor do them, you're messing up. Tongue is one of the best cuts you can get off an animal. It just takes a bit of takes a bit of work to get there, I will admit. But it is by far one of my favorite cuts that you can get. All right, so now to open this up, get around those lymph nodes. This right here is the windpipe. The esophagus is directly under it. So the reason I go through all of this to make sure I tie this off is a two-part system. The first one being, as you can see right there, I cut into it a little bit. We have a bunch of grass and stomach contents coming out. So what I usually do to not risk actually cutting the esophagus, which is right here, yep, is that exact thing. I'll cut into the windpipe a little bit. So as you can see, all those stomach contents are coming out. I'm not too worried about it because obviously this head is not going in the cooler and everything else can get rinsed. And if you've never smelt cow stomach contents, let me tell you, it is an interesting smell. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen all this up. Yes, my knife is getting dirty. Yes, I'm going to rinse it. Because obviously, I don't want all of this in here. More than likely, this will be in black and white, so you probably can't really see the difference. But just know, there's some yucky stomach contents on that one. All right. So now that that's done up, we're going to go ahead and split this sternum and get access to the heart. I like to pull the heart out at this point so I'm not wrestling with it when I have a whole stomach cavity full of guts. So we'll come at it at this angle. So this is where it starts to get interesting. I like to take my knife and mark out. And of course, can you see it where I'm at? Nope, you can't. Hi there. I like to mark with my knife where the end of the sternum is. But at the end of the sternum, you can just use your knife. But you want to make sure that you're not putting the whole blade into the actual cavity, but enough that you actually are splitting it all the way through. So I think the only part I need to hit is right here. And we're open. So if you have something, they make cavity spreaders. I can't bring myself to buy one. So all this is a auger off of a smaller electric grinder that I have that I no longer use. And what this does is, again, opens everything up, makes it a little bit easier to work with. We check the angle. As you probably can't see it from there, but I have this cut almost all the way. And like I said, I can now just take my knife and open that up. So right where I'm at now, this is the stomach. So again, you want to be careful where you're running the saw because you don't want to go willy-nilly and go all the way back in, then you got stomach everywhere, and it's a big pain in the butt. And I will tell you, this is lessons I have learned along the way. So, heed my warnings. I am not telling you this is the way to process beef. I'm telling you this is the way that I process beef. I know a lot of people that don't split the sternum and wrestle guts out, and I'm not about that life. So we're going to go ahead, reach in here, get the corazon. All right. And there's your heart. Again, go ahead, rinse that, set it aside. All right. So now we're at the point. Everything's spun out to the point that I can reach. Tongue's out, heart's out, sternum split. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera up a little bit. I'm going to have you over here. You're going to watch me hook this up with the tractor. And we're just going to keep going with it. All right, so we'll see you guys in a second. All right. So now that that's done up, go ahead and clean her up a little bit. Again, you want to make sure you're working with a clean carcass because that's just the way it works. You don't want to be cutting through poop and old blood and all that nonsense. So, as I was saying before, these udders add a little bit extra weight, which is nice. So, I have to put less weight into actually pulling and cutting. That does the work for me. All right. So we're going to make our incisions for getting the bung out as well. I'm going to go ahead and move you over this way just so I'm not in your way the whole time. Yeah, all over the face. That's always fun. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and bung this thing out. So like I said, I left a little bit of hide there, something to hold on to as we open this up. Everyone goes into this, whether it's a cow, a pig, it's mostly deer. Everyone gets real scared about getting in here and making your cuts. The pelvis on these things, the opening is fairly wide. If you keep your knife and you keep it at least the back of it pressed up against there, you're not going to cut anything. You don't really need to worry about it much. And of course, the funniest thing that could possibly happen is if I do end up cutting this and getting poop everywhere, which I'm not going to. So don't hold your breath. So we're going to open all this stuff up and get your hand in there and loosen everything up too. Again, we're doing this for the same reason that we did the esophagus, which I realize I did not give you the second reason why I do it. I also do it because once you start the final gut process, once both the bung and the esophagus are opened up, when it's time to gut, everything just falls right out because everything's already loose. So, all right. So that's cut. And the next thing we're going to do on top of that is rinse up real quick so we're not cross-contaminating anything. I'm going to pop that little chunk of yuckies off. And this one right here. I'm sure this part will be in black and white in the edit. And for some reason in my head, all I'm thinking is just mob boss talk, like, meh, see, meh. So, we're going to go ahead and split the sternum once again. Can you see? You can't see at that angle. Good job, Kyle. You're doing so good. If you look right here, the stomach and everything is right here. So I like to cut in a little bit just so I know where not to cut. And we're going to be cutting right here at the pelvis to split everything because it opens everything up, makes everything a little bit easier to split in the end. Boom. All right. So now we're bunged, pelvis is split, all this is loosened up. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead, get this lifted up the rest, or partially, skin out a little bit more, start the gutting incision, and we're going to get going. So I'm going to go ahead and switch camera angles on you. So we'll see you in a second. That's not how that's supposed to go. I'm going to get this screw up moved and we'll see you in a second. All right, so we're back. That's all cleaned up. Sometimes gutting doesn't always go to plan, which is always fun. It's hard enough handling one stomach. Yeah, I got to handle four. So I do just want to point out again, I've said it a bunch, but I'm going to say it again. Hanging out under the bucket of the tractor is not safe. Unless you are super comfortable with the machine you're using and you use it a lot and you do it a lot, don't do it. This is a calculated risk. I do this 2 or 3 times a week. Like, it's something that I'm very used to, but even with that, I had a hydraulic line blow last week. So it doesn't matter how often you do it or what, there's still the chance of something happening. If you watch back on the video, I am always looking up. I'm always checking. I'm always seeing what the bucket's doing because there is an opportunity for that to just come down and bonk me in the head and then all of a sudden, no more YouTube videos. So always be cautious of where that's going. So that being said, I'm going to get under the bucket and go ahead and finish skinning this out. So we'll see you guys in a second. All right, she's spun out. So what we're going to do, we're going to get her split. That'll be the end of the video. We'll see you next time with it. So we're going to go ahead, get the Sawzall going, and get her split. All right, kids, she split. It's a good looking beef. Nice split on it, fairly even. With the Sawzall, it gets a little tough sometimes. It's not a well saw, which a well saw, if you've ever seen a video of like an actual slaughterhouse or a big production facility, it looks like a massive bandsaw with a handle, and they work fantastic. But as you can see, you can get pretty good results with just a Sawzall. So that pretty much sums up this video today, folks. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy in the cooler. If I had to guess, and I'll mark it, I'll write it down on here. If I had to guess, this girl's probably around 525, 550. Not huge, but fairly decent size and beautiful quality. So they're going to be super happy with this. So with that, that's going to be the end of this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment on this if you want to see anything special. Like if you have questions about butchering or cutting or anything farming related, please put it down in the comments, because I don't know if you guys don't ask. So go ahead and do that. And if you're an instant gratification person, you don't want to wait Mondays and Fridays for my videos to come out, go over to TikTok, like, subscribe, do all that. I'm doing some fun stuff. I'm probably putting out 3 or 4 videos a day right now, trying to grow that over there. So if you're liking my stuff, keep following me, and I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.